Today on the Fallon Forum, we're going to talk about the president's accelerating use of drones. We're also going to talk about the controversy in West Des Moines over planting vegetable gardens on one's front lawn and how that ties in with the conversation about global food prices on the rise. We've got more on the plate as well, folks, including Heather Ryan joining us. Later in the program, we're going to talk politics. We're going to talk about Senator Harkin's decision to retire, specifically as it looks like Vilsack may be thinking about it. Vilsack, a candidacy from Tom Vilsack should make Monsanto very happy. Bruce Braley, I'm feeling good about that. Steve King, I'm feeling great about that.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Ed Fallon here, folks. Gateway Market and Cafe is your locally owned source for specialty groceries. Enjoy chef-crafted, prepared foods, artisan baked goods, organic produce, specialty cheeses, and hand-selected wines and craft beer. Visit the lively cafe for breakfast, lunch, or dinner 7 days a week. Gateway Market is centrally located on the corner of Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway and Woodland Ave. Stop by or visit www.gatewaymarket.com for more details. That's Gateway Market, folks. Good food, great community.
I'm a burrito.
I'm a fighting burrito, full of fresh ingredients prepared before your very eyes.
I don't have eyes.
I have over 28 options and 268 million combinations, including Rizo for vegetarians.
I can take my meat off and call myself vegetarian.
Put that back on. The Fighting Burrito is locally owned.
I'm owned by some big corporation somewhere. Say, you want to go on a date?
No thanks. I'm seeing a quesadilla.
The Fighting Burrito online, fightingburrito.com. Join the fight.
On March 28th, Equal Justice After Hours is Iowa Legal Aid's annual fundraiser that helps provide access to justice for low-income Iowans. The event includes a reception and program at the Temple for the Performing Arts in Des Moines. It also includes remarks by Georgetown University law professor Peter Edelman and the induction of Robert Oberbelly into the Iowa Legal Aid Hall of Fame. Tickets start at $50 and sponsorship opportunities are available. Contact Terry Bennett at tbennett@iowalaw.org. That's tbennett@iowalaw.org.
Hello, Mid-American Energy.
I'm very concerned that you want to bill me an extra $5,000 to build a nuclear reactor. Do you know we're in the middle of a recession?
Oh, we were hoping you wouldn't hear about that until after the legislature had taken action.
Why not let your shareholders pick up the tab?
Oh, way too risky for our shareholders. We need you, our loyal customers, to pay for it.
Wait, let me see if I understand this. Mid-American wants to build a nuclear power plant in 10 or 20 years, and they want me to pay for it now?
That's right.
Well, I'll just take my business elsewhere.
Sorry, we're a monopoly. What we say goes.
I've heard nuclear power is more expensive than other sources.
Yes it is.
And I've heard there's no plan for how to dispose of nuclear waste.
We're looking at shooting it into the sun.
Well, I'm not going to sit back and let you make bad decisions with my money.
We're betting you will.
Stop Mid-American's power grab. Call your legislators today. 281-3371. 281-3371.
Paid for by Physicians for Social Responsibility.
Wow, some wedding.
Yeah, I've never seen a bride in coveralls.
Right, and skipping down the aisle to accordion music.
Not to mention the reception. That wedding cake was a freaking fruit cake.
It's your wedding. Don't leave anything to chance. Diana's Wedding Cakes. Using only the finest, freshest ingredients with free on-time delivery and setup. Choose one of Diana's custom designs or create your own. Call Diana's Wedding Cakes, 641-275-9279. That's 641-275-9279.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Here we are, folks. Loading up the system as we speak. Yes, if you can load on the fly, then you're not qualified to be a talk show host. As an avid gardener, I am all up in arms about the West Des Moines situation. Although it looks like they have backed off from the brink for the time being. We're going to talk about that because I would almost be willing to bet somebody will be back with another effort to try to ban gardening in the front of one's house. All right, we'll talk about that. But first, I want to talk a bit more about the drone situation, the information that has been released. Rachel Maddow did a very compelling spot, and if Maddie can find that, we might run that a little bit later in the program. But I think Rachel Maddow hits the nail on the head on that issue. Yeah, it is troubling to me. Again, well, the use of drones troubles me, and again, I understand fellow travelers, people I respect, argue that there are worse things than drones. But to me, I can't think of, especially the way they're being used, I can't think of anything much more appalling as we try to live in a free and open society. I mean, the information being withheld, not just from the public, but from Congress. I don't get that. Again, well, this thing is moving so fast. Articles I've clipped earlier this week seem dated at this point. I may reference those, but let's go to our phone lines. Again, you're welcome to jump in, folks, at any point. 244-0077, 244-0077. Let's go to line 1. Who do we got, Maddie? Ron, welcome to the show.
How you doing, Ed?
Good.
I tell you, I just kind of wonder what kind of decadent and brutal and just clued out country we're becoming when I hear about this use of drones.
Tell me the complete list of adjectives again.
Decadent, brutal, and just kind of clued out people.
Clued out.
Yeah.
All right.
Deliberately, willfully so.
I thought decadent might be a reference to Hollywood.
No,
brutal a reference to the NRA. But anyway, you're referencing our drone policy and our secrecy around surrounding it.
I'm referencing the way our practice of warfare is evolving, in the sense that the electorate doesn't want to know about it. It doesn't want to send its sons and now daughters into it. We want robots to wage our wars for us. And we just want to look at ourselves as pretty people, as good people, and look at everyone else as they're the violent bad guys, and they deserve a drone dropped in their backyard.
So what do you say to John Niederbach, who responds saying, quote, "Would you be more or less troubled by the cost in lives and treasure of having to use special forces teams to do what the drones do?" He goes on to say, drones are the...
And that's exactly why soldiers should be used, because war should be a troubling thing. All right, I'm going to listen.
You're what? Sorry, the connection is bad, Ron. You're fading in and out.
I'm a Ulysses S. Grant kind of guy, and what I mean by that is during the Civil War, when it first began, Grant predicted that this war was going to have a big butcher bill, and no one wanted to believe that, and everyone thought it was all about chivalry and honor and wearing nice uniforms, and Grant was almost chased out of the service for his trouble. And then finally they realized, you know what, this is a brutal business, and they called him back, and he said, okay, I'll win it, but it's going to have a tremendous butcher bill that you're going to have to pay. And what troubles me now is we look at war as antiseptic. We look at it as kind of a...
But surely you are not advocating for butchery, for throwing as many... I mean, again, I don't agree with Jonathan either, but I don't know if I like your response to it.
You shouldn't like my response, Ed, but
all right.
War is butchery. It is killing on a massive scale. It is being killed on a massive scale. And when we try to hide that, when we try to disguise that...
Sanitize it.
Well,
we've been sanitizing war.
Let's make no mistake. It isn't sanitized on the other end, okay? On the receiving end, it's pretty loud and clear. But we have become this immoral, decadent people. We don't want to pay for our wars. We think a tax increase is too onerous. We don't want to give our sons and daughters over to wars, but boy, we love war.
So, all right, now, again, do you remember, you're probably old enough to remember what the Department of Defense used to be called?
Department of War.
Department of War. So we sanitized the name of the agency responsible for waging war itself. Of course, we don't call people who are killed in battle who aren't soldiers. If they're civilians, we call that collateral damage.
And
You know,
we have. There are people, I think, in our society now who actually earn a paycheck by sanitizing our language of violence to make us feel better, and it is disgusting to me. It's destroying this country. And I tell you one thing: if anyone thinks a war can be won by remote control, they're out of their mind. And that's another thing. We don't even really fight wars to win anymore. No one talks about ever winning a war. We're just kind of fighting a war, and then when it becomes inconvenient to politicians, we kind of withdraw and kind of leave the disaster areas that we inflicted to their own fates.
Folks, we're discussing the Obama administration's policy on drones, the secrecy surrounding the conversation. Ron Yarnell is on the phone with me. You're welcome to join the conversation as well at 244-0077-244-0077. Again, I agree with you for the most part, Ron, but I think, I think we do have to be responsive to folks like Jonathan who say, well, isn't this saving American lives? We have to have a good comeback to that.
Yeah, the comeback is when we go to war, our primary goal should be to win the war, or don't go to war at all. You know what? I'm a pacifist. You give me the choice. I say don't go to war, especially if you don't intend to win it. If you're just going to lie to people and use the war as political manipulation. But you know what? In order to win a war, you have to shed blood. It's never worked the other way.
Okay, but
that's a good reason to stay out.
But beyond that, what bothers me most about the use of drones is, again, I agree. It distances us it desensitizes the population of the nation using the drones, in that case, Americans. But the other thing that bothers me is that it can be coupled with the administration's secrecy on this issue, and again, just drugged through the ringer in order to produce even a minimal amount of evidence as to what the policy is and why. And the policy seems to be violating everything we believe to be ideals in this country on so many levels. We're targeting American citizens who have had no day in court. They haven't committed an attack. They're suspected that they might commit an attack. And beyond the fact that we're targeting American citizens, it concerns me we're targeting anybody without any recourse to due process. So to me, drones are a problem, sure, but even beyond that, the whole way in which they're fitting into this approach to kill first and ask questions later, and then to release as little information as possible, that really bothers me.
And of course you're going to have secrecy, because when you do monstrous things, you want to keep it a secret, okay? The clue was back during the Clinton administration when the U.S. was conducting a policy of sanctions against Iraq. And it was estimated that 500,000 children, Iraqi children, perished as a result of the sanction. And Madeleine Albright, when she was confronted by this fact, she didn't even bother denying it. She said, well, the outcome we're looking for is worth it. In other words, that Machiavellian, the ends justify the means. Now, people don't know because they think, well, sanctions what's wrong with sanctions? Sanctions isn't violent. Actually, sanctions is a code word for blockade and siege, which is the most cruel form of warfare there is.
Yeah, and I think there are times when it makes sense to use sanctions over some of the alternatives, but there's no doubt about it. I mean, every objective analysis showed that the use of sanctions in Iraq with a brutal dictator like Saddam Hussein in charge resulted in tremendous suffering and health damage to the public health and even death to the people of Iraq.
When you are blockading a country, you are committing an act of war, because the consequences will be you're waging war on women and children and old people is what you're doing when you lay in sanctions. That's what it's about. Yeah. All right. And of course, but it sounds nice, sanctions. Oh my goodness, this isn't like bombs going off or all kinds of things. So people bought that. And now, and the only thing I can say is maybe back then you could say, well, thank goodness we have kind of a nominal liberal, because, boy, if we had anyone else, we might really get proven.
By nominal liberal, you mean President Obama?
The Clinton administration. Now the Obama administration.
Now, what do you mean?
I haven't been really following. You see, I'm kind of motivated because the other day I had a conversation with a friend of mine who's a Vietnam War combat infantryman veteran, and it took him 20 years to look at an American flag without a visceral reaction because of his experience at war. He has a Purple Heart, he has a Bronze Star, but the war was a brutal experience for him. It was like, and he says you just can't explain it to other people. And those people like him are the people we need to bear testimony to what war is really about. Instead, we have, you know me, Ed, I'm not one to denigrate the intellectual life, but we have these like warmongering intellectuals. They don't know anything about being a grunt. They don't know anything about war. All they have are their master plans for fixing up the world, and they're killing people.
Couch potato soldiers. How's that for an analogy?
Yeah, and they used to be called chicken hawks.
Okay? Let me ask you this: so the Iowa National Guard, of course, the head of the Guard, Tim Orr, gave his Major General Tim Orr gave his speech before the Iowa legislature last week. And I had not heard much about it. I heard, Dan Kelly referenced it, but without any discussion about content. But the news that came out regarding content indicates that that Orr indicated the Guard is moving quickly toward developing at the Des Moines Airport, where the F-16s used to be, an attack wing capable of remotely piloting unmanned combat aircraft over the Mideast and over Africa as well. So it looks like the drone warfare is coming home to roost here in Des Moines. And again, this is an interesting problem we had last year. We had Iowa's congressional delegation, everybody from Bruce Braley to Steve King, uniting against removing the F-16, the 21 aircraft that were stationed in Des Moines, because of the loss of jobs. And I just found Dave Lobsack's take on that reprehensible, because when you start talking about a defense program in terms of its impact on jobs, then you're missing the point of what a defense program should be about. But clearly that was about jobs. And so the response of the Guard now is to focus on how it again establishes a viable jobs component of the whatever military presence exists at the airport. And apparently that is going to be through the use of drones. Orr said, he told state lawmakers last week, a week ago yesterday, that the 132nd Fighter Wing will transition to a unit with 3 new missions. 1, a reconnaissance group with a remotely piloted aircraft squadron. 2, an intelligence group. And 3, a cybersecurity group defending the nation from cyber attacks on its power grid and other infrastructure. And so that's expected to lead to some employment. And so I guess that's going to make us feel better about drones because, gosh, there's some jobs involved. Anyway.
First of all, I at one point in my life worked for the defense industry, and I can tell you right now, the defense budget, the defense program, it is all about jobs. It really is.
Well, I mean, at one point, I would argue maybe it wasn't, but it certainly has become that. And
well, even that's questionable. The other thing I want to say is, someone's going to say, Ron, you're not patriotic. You don't want to win. Yes, I want to win every war my country is in, because losing is a bear to pay.
Right.
Okay?
See, and you are a pacifist, but you and I actually.
This is how you win a war. First of all, we have this piece of paper called the Constitution. Okay, and I know it gets a lot of conversation, but apparently very few people actually read it. And it tells us that when we go to war, Congress is to declare war. So therefore, the political establishment takes responsibility. Guess what? Taking responsibility among the elites, not a real big thing in our generation. Doesn't happen all that much. The next thing you do is you raise a really big army of 19-year-olds, and you train them with rifles and bayonets, and then you send them to go into every scary cave and hole in Afghanistan. Now, this will not guarantee victory because the Russians and the British and everyone going back to the Macedonians have tried it before.
Right.
But you know what? You're not gonna win this war by remote control. It's just not going to happen. Now, on the other hand,
well, you're going to continue to alienate. You're going to alienate and infuriate the folks in those countries
and
where civilians are killed. Oh, sorry, collateral damage occurs.
And right now in our country, when you tell people what a war really requires, then it's not so fun. It's not on TV anymore. It's not, flag waving and nice words. It's their kids possibly coming home mutilated, and it's a lot of expense. Nothing grows government like war. It's like the steroid of government growth. No one.
Well, I mean, yeah, and you and I are a little bit different because I am not a literal pacifist. I believe that every war since World War II was ill-conceived, and that most war should be and can be avoided. But I would not say that about World War II, and I would not say it as a matter of principle.
Let me explain to you what I mean when I call myself a pacifist.
Okay, and then I've got to run to another call.
What I mean by that is not that I necessarily wouldn't go to war, but I reject the idea that violence leads to anything constructive. Violence is violence.
See, and I disagree. I mean, if you look, mostly 99% of the time, I would agree with you. But in the case of some monster like Adolf Hitler, you did not get to peace. You did not get to justice without eliminating that threat.
You know how we defeated Nazi Germany?
By
making an alliance with Stalin and communist Russia, and that haunted us for the rest of the 20th century.
Right, but it was better than the alternative.
They're the ones.
It was better than the alternative, though. Hey, I got let me.
We did.
Ron, thank you for the call. I appreciate you taking the time to buzz us. Let me go to one more call here before. Let's go to let's see what do you got. Jeff Weiss with us. Hello, Jeff. Welcome to the show.
Oh, hey, Ed. I was just going to weigh in quickly and just note that this is really interesting because we just went through a whole campaign where the Republican Party said that government in the public sector doesn't create jobs. Apparently, the caveat is unless it's half of the federal budget, called the Pentagon. And this is part of a permanent war economy. And, once again, I mean, the Soviet Union did learn in the early 90s. It moved away from a permanent war economy. The British and the French.
It had to. It was bankrupting its government.
Yeah, likewise here.
Okay.
But we don't appear to want to learn any lessons from history. But also the British and the French, giving up sort of their idea of empire in the 1950s and gave Southwest Asia over to us. So, I mean, I just think the sad thing is, the larger question is, and hopefully there's a way that Iowans can weigh in and that these drones don't come to Des Moines because
I think it's going to happen, Jeff.
It's also going to be over the citizens of the United States. Yeah. I mean, you talk about if people want to talk about Big Brother and other things, the other thing is the 40 to 60 countries that now have this drone technology in some capacity. Many people are saying that this is certainly going to be used against us. So we're entering into dangerous territory here. We're doing it quickly without a lot of thought. And, to me, this none of this represents this secrecy, this, reigning hell and death and immorality and unchristian behavior, doesn't speak well of Iowa, at least to me.
Yeah. Well, again, I think we're going to have a hard time fighting it. Look at how the entire congressional delegation was drooling to keep the F-16 unit at the airport. Everybody from Steve King to Bruce Braley, with I guess again Dave Loebsack making the most, perhaps the most honest, but also the most, to me, embarrassing argument in favor of it. But I think that whole argument of jobs is going to keep coming home to roost here. And I don't know whether they'll have as many folks employed with the new drone program, but I think it's going to be really hard to stop. That does not mean we should not fight it, for sure.
Yeah, well, and really drones are the new Guantanamo. It's what people who are attacking the United States are using as the reason why. And so that also doesn't, make Iowans, I don't think, any safer having one of these bases sort of in our backyard as it is the new Guantanamo. And, the other aspect of this is, I don't want to get too far back into history, but It just confounds me that this is a country that was based on a standing army and militarism would be a form of tyranny. And now somehow we've gone from that to 2013 where nonstop permanent war economy, perpetual war, and militarism is somehow our freedom and who we are. I mean, you talk about a 180-degree turn in people who have abandoned the James Madison. People cannot exist, ignorant and free. That was sort of the foundation of this country. People cannot exist both ignorant and free. And somehow we've come to some strange definition of freedom and militarism and consumerism. So, I mean, this is a larger philosophical point, but it's in the background of all this, Ed. And I also share your frustration that, some of the more sane members of Congress, Harkin and others, just rally behind the F-16s. And it's confounding to me that people who say, yes, we have a permanent war economy, we have to get away from it, we have to have a civilian economy.
They just curl up and die when it comes to the question of jobs.
Exactly. Yeah. So thank you for making this a point. It doesn't appear that that a lot of other venues are having an intelligent discussion about such things.
Well, I appreciate that, Jeffrey. Thank you for taking the time to call us. If we can get it to work, folks, I want to play this clip from Rachel Maddow's show recently. She lays out really well, I think, the argument against the secrecy that has been cloaking the whole discussion about the use of drones. We're going to have to see if we can pull that off during the break here. And when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about that if we can. But I also want to talk an issue close to home and of a very different genre, the issue of property rights and the importance of all of us learning how to grow our own food. Those two issues came together in a West Des Moines City Council discussion last night. Fortunately, the forces of good prevailed in this case, but I think it's a conversation we will see more of. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And, of course, Heather Ryan joining me later in the program. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the political shuffling going on. I do want to thank Brother Trucker for providing the bumper music that kicks this show off. I want to thank the Iowa chapter of the Sierra Club and Iowa Physicians for Social Responsibility for sponsoring the Fallon Forum. And I want to thank Gateway Market and Cafe at 20th and Woodland for sponsoring this segment of our conversation. Gateway has a tremendous line of groceries, folks, a lot of it from local producers. A great line of picket fence products, Sheeter Dairy, and in season, lots of local produce as well. I did something new there the other day. I bought an orchid, a locally made, grown, whatever you would call it, locally grown orchid. Never done that before. And again, I love the cafe, breakfast, lunch, and supper. Check it out, folks. Prices are great. Food is fantastic. And you can also buy beer or wine in the grocery, go to the cafe, and have that with your meal. Great deal. Folks, check them out. Gateway Market at 20th and Woodland. I'll be back in a minute.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
The dawn of a new era begins.
Well, good morning. This is the 7th of June in the Lord's year 2010, and this is day 1 of WebcastOneLive.com. We will begin with Max World Live with my special guest, Tom Coates. In just a minute, there's Tom. Wait. Howdy. And we will be live for the very first time on Webcast One Live Someday we're going to look back on this and say, gosh, remember that old day in history? Wonder where Walter Cronkite was. He must have been around hanging there too. But actually, it's the beginning of Webcast One Live. And thank you for listening. Thanks, Rob Spearman, and everybody who's put together this project together. And we're ready to go live now. So thanks for listening to MaxWorldLive.com.
I can't tell you that it's going real well from time to time, but it is going, man.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Thanks to Webcast One Live for providing the studio for this program, and the ads you just heard were those supporting Webcast One Live. The folks who support the Fallon Forum, you hear their advertisements first part of the show and then the next break. And again, I do want to encourage folks to go out and support the businesses that support this alternative. Folks like Gateway Market, like the Fighting Burrito, Iowa Legal Aid Society, Physicians for Social Responsibility, Diana's Wedding Cakes, Dan Kelly's real estate business. Let's call it that. Sid's Catering, Community CPA, Story County Vet, Tally's Restaurant, Tinker Heating and Cooling, Ritual Cafe, the Hawk Restaurant, a new client. Delighted to have Hawk on board. And go out there and support the businesses that want to make this alternative a reality. It is appreciated, and it is essential if we're going to continue to have this opportunity. Again, I guarantee you wouldn't have had that last conversation on any of the commercial radio stations in Des Moines. I want to thank Baber's Neighbors for providing the bumper music to kick this segment off, and I want to thank Community CPA and Associates. Okay, back to our conversation about drones and about the lack of information coming out of the Obama administration. Just a little more on that subject, and then we're going to move on to folks. But I want to give Rachel Maddow a chance to weigh in. No, she's not on the phone, but she did a show on this the other day that I think hit the nail on the head. Maddie, let's go to the first clip from Rachel, if you can pull that up for us.
Has openly, in speeches and in public comments, asserted that it believes it is acting within the law when President Obama or some other administration official directs that even an American citizen can be killed. They insist that neither the Fifth Amendment right to due process, nor the U.S. law against killing Americans abroad, nor the U.S. law banning assassinations, nor just the law against murder, nor the laws of war broadly, legally constrain the president from ordering the type of assault that killed American citizen and prominent al-Qaeda figure Anwar al-Awlaki in Yemen in 2011. Awlaki's teenage son, also an American, was killed in Yemen in a similar strikes a couple of weeks after his father was killed.
Yeah, I'm having a really, really hard time, Mr. President, understanding why this policy makes any sense. I mean, I think Maddow laid out very well, very clearly, very succinctly all the areas of concern with this policy. And I'm having a really hard time understanding why you or anyone else would think this is appropriate. We'll see where it goes from here. I think it's interesting that the administration released this information just in time for the Brennan hearings. Let's go to one more clip from Maddow.
To please clear the way for this memo to be released to Congress. And then tonight, we are told that the president called Senator Ron Wyden himself and said, okay, we're going to let you see it. After all this time, we're not only going to admit it exists, we are going to let you guys on the Intelligence Committee see this memo. It happens the night before the president's nominee to run the CIA will appear before the Intelligence Committee in the Senate for confirmation hearings. congressional oversight on national security and war. The executive branch recognizing that there is a rest of the government, too, even on national security. Oh, what a feeling.
Oh, what a feeling. Yeah. I think she nails it. And I appreciate the senator from Oregon, and Senator Feinstein and a few others for challenging the president on this. And I hope they continue to challenge him. Again, and I know others have made this point. I know Frank has made this point before too. If this were to be a Republican president doing this, liberals, Democrats, all sorts of ACLU types would be outraged. To the ACLU's credit, they are as outspoken on this administration's watch as they would be on anyone else's. But yeah, good point. There are plenty of Democrats that aren't willing to continue to speak out in the face of this. I think this travesty, and the fact that some are in Congress even. That's good. Let's keep that going. All right, I want to switch gears here, folks. Heather Ryan will be with us shortly, and we'll be talking more politics, and maybe we'll get into this issue a bit more. I don't know what else Heather has on her mind, but Ryan's rants will be kicking off the final segment. But I got to tell you a little bit about the gardening situation here. Okay, it is no surprise or secret that I am a big-time gardener, and I have grown food in my front yard before. I've grown peach trees, apricots, apples, blackberries. I don't think I've ever grown vegetables, but I have friends who have grown vegetables in their front yards, and I have friends who have grown even vegetables on parking strips. And I know that it can look pretty darn nice to have vegetables growing in your front yard. Let's take a look at a few photos here. I'm not quite sure what's in that mix. It looks like a southern clime, and I don't really know what we got there, folks. What else we got, man? Oh, now that is clearly and actually I've seen this picture elsewhere. Now, who can argue that looks great? Okay, sure, it looks great. I mean, how can you possibly argue against that as an appropriate use for one's front yard? To me, it looks a lot nicer than a monoculture of chemically sprayed grass. Okay. Also, again, one's front yard, a nice brick walkway, presumably leading up to the front door. And you're greeted by the smells of herbs and the sight of beautiful flowers on some of these wonderful vegetables. Why is that a problem? I really don't understand the city of West Des Moines' angst over this. I'm glad that they punted and decided not to ban, growing vegetables in your front yard. Again, I understand an ordinance against having a junky front yard, but we need to be careful about how we define junky. If a front yard has to be one type of grass looking all the same with no weeds thrown in, that's a problem because you don't get that too easily without chemicals. You can get that if you want to without chemicals. There's a company called Safe Earth Lawn Care that I've used. It does a great job using various types of organic compost. It's still a little bit more work than dumping chemicals, but gosh, when you dump chemicals on that lawn, you are killing the entire lawn, except for that one little type of grass that you want in monoculture. So, if we were going to go the right direction on this, we'd go toward banning that kind of craziness. I mean, I don't understand. We spend so much time watering our lawn to get it green, and then what happens? As soon as it starts growing because we're watering it, we cut it off. We kill it. We cut it down to, a quarter inch, half an inch. And you would think that we'd like the fact that by August, when it got dry and brown, we'd have a break from all that mowing, but no, we water it, so we have to keep mowing. And then you think maybe we'd be happy, the leaves fell out in the fall, we didn't have to mow it again, but no, we get those leaves out there as fast as possible, keep mowing it, spray more chemicals on it so that it's going to grow even thicker and greener next spring. Again, I don't get what is so sacred about that. If you want to do that, knock yourself out, but don't prevent somebody else from doing something a little different in the yard. I've seen people who have a rock landscape, and within the rocks they've got flowers, they've got shrubs. Good for them. I've seen folks with a prairie garden landscape in their front yard. I mean, that's probably the most responsible thing to do, even more responsible than vegetable gardening if you want to think about just the strict environmental aspects of it. Knock yourself out. Plant your prairie plants. Have a great time. And if I or someone else wants to plant vegetables, why should we not be able to do that? Again, one of the complaints was, the tomatoes will get blighted. Okay, then you tear them out
If they're not healthy, if the plants aren't doing well, you get rid of them. If you're a responsible gardener, you do that. Okay, so again, I'm really glad that West Des Moines stepped back from the brink. But if we're going to get serious about food in this country, if we're going to get serious about food in Des Moines, we need to be finding as many ways as possible to produce it ourselves, to support the farmers who are producing and growing what we can't grow. And not just when it comes to vegetables, but, and those who know me will say, oh, Ed, there you go again, chickens. City ordinances prohibiting chickens are just foolish. I mean, you know, I can see the animal control guy coming up and saying, ma'am, we've got to remove your chicken. It's not allowed in the city. And I would say, well, did my chicken bite somebody? Did it chase a child? Did it poop on somebody's lawn? You know, chickens don't do all sorts of things that dogs do that we consider abhorrent, and yet we allow dogs. And I'm not saying we should ban dogs. I'm just saying get smart. Chickens actually are a very, very mellow animal, and they provide a tremendous source of protein. And that dovetails very well with any kind of vegetable garden you want to do. You know, mix that chicken manure in with your compost, and you'll have some fantastic compost. I know, I speak from experience. So anyway, we're going to keep an eye on this because I think this is an important part of the bigger conversation that we're going to continue to talk about with response to, for example, the headline in today's paper, global food prices could spike. Global food prices could spike. Well, one way to beat global food prices spiking is to have some of your land committed to growing food yourself. All right, folks, enough of that for now. Again, I do want to thank Community CPA and Associates for sponsoring this segment of our program. They're at 3816 Ingersoll Ave, an accounting firm run by Ying Sa that do a fantastic job with, not just your personal finances, but your business taxes as well. I've been using Ying's services for many years. I've seen her business grow from just her to over 2,500 clients. They're now the 15th largest accounting firm in the state of Iowa. You don't get to be 15th largest accounting firm without doing a really good job. Check it out, folks. Community CPA and Associates. You can get information online about the vast array of services they offer, and tell them thank them too for supporting the Fallon Forum. We'll be back in a minute. Heather Ryan's going to join me. Ryan's Rants, we're going to call it, and we're going to see where this conversation goes as we dig into some of the top political stories here in Iowa.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Community CPA is the 15th largest CPA firm in Iowa, providing audit, tax, and accounting services. Community CPA specializes in international tax treaty and double taxation avoidance among countries and states. 9 dedicated, experienced, hardworking staff are the company's foundation, and their compassion towards every client is the secret behind Community CPA's success. At Community CPA, you can expect quality service year-round. Call 288-3188. Community CPA, 3816 Ingersoll. Experience the difference.
Since 1994, Sid's Catering has graced Des Moines area events with quality service and rave reviews. Owner Sid Cohn's culinary career began with a Northeast Iowa vacation home for international clientele. Sid earned a Bachelor of Science in Hotel Restaurant Management and was the assistant clubhouse manager at Des Moines Golf and Country Club. Sid has a passion for fresh, local products and offers a wide range of options, including vegan, gluten-free, and ethnic. Mention the Fallon Forum when you book your breakfast or lunch event and get 10% off. Contact Sid's Catering at 208-2091. That's Sid's Catering at 208-2091.
This is Dr. Holding, the Story County Veterinary Clinic. For 15 years, we have been spaying and neutering feral cat groups at affordable prices. Wild cats destroy game birds and songbirds. A single female cat can produce over 4,000 kittens in 7 years. The shelters are full, so unwanted kittens will be put to sleep. Your cats will stay home and stay healthy. Call us for all your dog and cat needs at the Story County Veterinary Clinic between Ames and Nevada on Highway 30, 1 mile east of Interstate 35. 515-232-8766.
This moment of silence brought to you by Tally's Restaurant Bar and Catering, home of Des Moines' premier rooftop dining experience. Located in the heart of Beaverdale, Tally's offers speedy and affordable rooftop lunch, catering for events both large and small, innovative cuisine, as well as vegetarian and gluten-free menus. Come to Tally's for live music, dry-aged steaks, Sunday brunch, and all-you-can-eat ribs every Monday night. Tally's Restaurant, Bar, and Catering at 2712 Beaver Avenue. Call 279-2067. That's 279-2067.
It's time to think about upgrading the efficiency of your furnace and air conditioner. Leonard Tinker Heating and Cooling has provided honest, competent service for over 20 years. Whether it's your home or business, for repair work or to install a more energy-efficient furnace or air conditioner, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422. That's 263-0422. For honest, competent heating and cooling service, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422.
Nestled in the heart of downtown, Ritual Cafe is one of Des Moines' most unique places, offering a wide variety of coffee and tea. Ritual Cafe also serves the only all-vegetarian menu in town. And Ritual Cafe is a cultural hub for artists and musicians, with a performance stage hosting local, national, and international talent. Make Ritual Cafe a part of your daily ritual. On 13th Street between Locust and Grand in downtown Des Moines. And check out ritualcafe.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
That's the Max Wellman Trio, folks. And if you aren't going to Max Wellman's Valentine concert, and if you aren't bringing your sweetie to that, then there was something severely wrong with you. Heather, are you going to that concert?
Apparently I am now. Because I don't want you to think there's something severely wrong with me.
Yeah, 2 concerts, 7 and 9 p.m. at the 4th Street Theater, Java Joe's.
And that's on Valentine's Day?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And you know what day of the week that is, right?
I think it's Thursday, right? This
Thursday.
coming Thursday,
This coming
yes.
Thursday,
Well, once you're married for a certain period of time, it just kind of blends in together after a while.
Well, I'm also going to go to Hawk Restaurant that night, and I'd like to thank Hawk for sponsoring this segment of the program and tell you a little bit more about the fantastic things they're doing at that restaurant later in the show. But we're here to talk politics. I got Heather Ryan with me, and we're calling this segment of the show Ryan's Rants. And you know, when you actually land a segment on the show, you get your own bumper music.
Apparently that wasn't my bumper music.
Well.
Oh, there we go. This is my song, Right. It's funny because that song actually has meaning to our family.
Really? What's
after
that?
my congressional race, we were still in Kentucky, obviously. And Heaven, my oldest daughter, she went to school, and one of her teachers, very nice teacher, was afraid that people would make fun of her because her mom didn't win the election. And I said, Heaven, please, don't even worry about it. We're still rock stars, you know. So that became our theme, you know. I don't need you if you're going to make fun of us. We're still rock stars. We're still rock stars, man.
Well, speaking of rock stars, we may, who knows? The U.S. Senate race here in Iowa might see a bunch of heavy hitters. Now Tom Vilsack's name is being thrown out there. And a Seltzer poll, one of the more well-respected polls we have in the state, I would probably say the most well-respected poll, shows that of all the Iowans mentioned as candidates, he is the most appealing with 56%. Second, way back, is Tom Latham, 40% appealing. Bruce Braley third at 36% appealing.
Totally all just because of name recognition.
Exactly.
You're asking people to give an opinion on something based on what they know right this second about these candidates. And they don't know anything about these other candidates like they do Tom Vilsack. I mean, Vilsack and his wife have incredible name recognition. You cannot ask this question right now and be fair about it.
Well, and that said, you know, Christy Vilsack does come in, you know, quite a bit behind Tom.
But it's all in the last name, just like Ryan.
Actually, no, I'm sorry. I misspoke. She's second in terms of name recognition.
See?
I misspoke.
See?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah. And again, Latham and Braley, probably because they have congressional seats. They have significant name recognition in 1/4 of the state.
And
but
Latham ran
so
a
because
very
he had,
high-profile campaign this past election.
and he's had 3 different districts.
Right,
So,
right.
And Braley has had one district and just recently picked up one that is a little bit different. But
right.
Yeah. So, and who else is on the list? Chet Culver.
He's actually ahead of Braley, but again, probably because
It's
of
the
the
name
same reason you
recognition,
cited.
absolutely. Now, is Chet Culver electable? No, I really don't think he is. Just like I'm not sure exactly Vilsack's really electable.
Well, you know,
but-
and I like Tom Vilsack because he is intelligent and responsive.
Absolutely.
I mean, I wrote to him the other day, and he wrote back. Well, actually, he had Matt Paul write back to me immediately. Sometimes he writes back himself immediately, but that doesn't mean I want to see him in the U.S. Senate.
He's incredibly gracious. He's incredibly intelligent, but I want balls to the wall heavy hitter. You know,
I don't want somebody who's going to. I mean, I really feel his connections to Monsanto and other corporate ag interest groups are way too tight for my comfort.
Yeah, I'm going to agree.
I mean,
I'm going to agree. Absolutely. And I think he's a nice guy, but we don't necessarily need nice when you've got such contention. We need someone who's going to really stand up for our interests. And I think there are better choices than Vilsack at this point.
Well, how about Steve King?
Steve King scares me. He scares me a lot. I go to bed at night and I have nightmares about Steve King. And the only reason he is where he is because of his name recognition. You know, I interned in the Senate while you were in the House.
Yeah.
And I actually got to sit on the Senate floor a couple of times. And I personally threw daggers his way because he scared me so much. And some of the
How
things
did you
that-
sneak those knives in through security?
Right here.
Oh,
right here.
oh,
Through
eye
my
daggers.
eyes, eye
Okay,
daggers.
eye daggers.
Yeah.
All right, good.
But, you know, some of the things that come out of his mouth, I'm just like, kind of like a Scooby-Doo moment. and he, you know, if it wasn't for his name, Steve King, he probably wouldn't be where he is either, just because he's so outrageous.
Well, remember, he only won by about 30 votes, I want to say, over Brent Seegers. Brent Seegers is a very reasonable and moderate Republican who I worked with in the House and got along with fine, you know? So that's how close that race was. But now he's in, and it's hard to unseat an incumbent.
I want
as
Stephen
I've
King, the
discovered
writer,
personally, and so have you.
to come and I want Stephen King to actually campaign against him and say, look, he's a bad guy.
Well, I want him to run for the U.S. Senate, and I'm even thinking of donating to his campaign.
I'm going to agree. I want him to run in a way. In a way, I want him to run because I want him to get trounced, and I want him to lose his seat as a Congress member.
Yeah, it's a win-win
But-
situation. We'll get, hopefully, a progressive Democrat. Hopefully, in my opinion, so far, of all the candidates mentioned, we'll get Bruce Braley as the next U.S. Senator.
Bruce Braley would great. He would be great.
And we'll lose Steve King as a congressman, and hopefully somebody good will pick up that seat.
But here's the scary part.
Yeah?
What if Steve King won? Oh my God. What if he won? I don't even know what I would do with myself.
I don't see how he will. I mean, look. Again,
How is he where he is? How is he where he is right now?
Again, it's Western Iowa, and it's a very
But
very different area than the rest
He was just appointed
of the state.
for the Ag Board, right? He's on the Ag Committee, and that's important because now he wants to cut funding for food stamps. I mean, somehow there's something not working here
Yeah.
where he's thinking that all these people that are on food stamps and food assistance are taking advantage of the system. Something's miscommunicating up here with Steve King, and it's scary. What if he were to win?
That's a risk. I mean, and I caution people who last time around voted for Bob Vanderplaats for governor because they thought he would be easier to beat than Branstad. I'm thinking, be careful what you do with that. But and I say that, but I look at Bob Vanderplaats polling in this recent analysis, 21%. I mean, he is so far below even Steve King that 21% say yes, he's appealing. 54% say no. I mean, that's actually delightful to me to see that somebody who is I think is out of touch. I mean, all right, I'll say it. I think Bob Vanderplaats makes Steve King look like he has a clue. I mean, Bob Vanderplaats is so out of touch with the times.
Oh,
So out of
absolutely. Vanderplaats, we make fun of in my house, actually. We make fun of his Vanderplaats.
I can't ever see you making fun of anybody, Heather.
I know. It's hard to believe. I'm so even-tempered. But, Vanderplaats, I think he is actually probably positioning for a spot on Fox because he's so far to the right and he's an outrageous character. And so he's got this weird personality thing. And Fox loves that kind of stuff. So he probably just wants a high-paid gig at Fox right now. And that's where he is.
Well, I think any gig at all at Fox would probably be high paid.
Well, ask Sarah Palin.
Yeah.
They cut her money and then she quit.
So. Oh, did they cut her money?
They cut it by like a third.
Oh
yeah, they offered her a contract renewal for like a third of what she used to get.
Well, 244-0077, folks, if you'd like to join the conversation here. 244-0077. Let's. I think it was revealed recently that Frank may be Elvis's love child.
Yeah, which is kind of funny. I had no idea. I'm kind of Impressed that.
Impressed?
Yeah, I mean that he's got such a claim to fame. Not everybody has that. I don't have that claim to fame.
Well, you ran against Mitch McConnell's buddy in Kentucky. That's pretty.
Ed
good.
Whitfield, yeah.
All right, hey Frankie, welcome to the show.
Hey Ed. Well, I won't.
Is this his bump music?
Suspicious Minds. I think that's appropriate.
Well, I won't say I'm related to Elvis, but I have been known to have gyrating hips and a quivering right leg.
This is a TMI situation here. Too much information.
I was just going to say that, too.
Hey, if I was a registered Acorn voter, I would vote for Steve King twice.
A registered Acorn voter. Is that a party?
No, you know Acorn. You know their
I know who they are.
You know
or
their
were,
history
yeah.
of phony registrations.
I think that's more myth than reality. But,
Absolutely.
Hey, what weapon system have you Democrats been for since the straw and spit wad?
Since the what?
Weapon system?
Yeah,
straw and spit
you
wad?
don't like the F-16s and you don't like the drones. What weapon system have you been for?
I think the neutron bomb is wonderful. You know, you drop that, you kill all the people, and you still have the infrastructure ready to re-inhabit.
Done. It's all. Just
I'm not a fan of weapon systems, Frank. It's unfortunate that humanity would need any kind of weapon system.
Ed, but do you deal with reality as it is, or you deal with reality as you'd like it to be?
Well, yeah, you deal with reality as it is, of course, but you still
you strive for what you want it to be. You strive for better. You strive for something better. Why should we continue to act like Neanderthals when we know we can do better?
You don't do it in secrecy like the Obama. You're taking Obama's side on this. This is kind of delightful.
I do support Obama in this. I think there ought to be a little stronger oversight on this situation.
How about any kind of ability, a willingness to talk with the public?
How about Honest Abe? How about old Honest Abe Lincoln? He'd be right in there.
With a drone, I doubt that actually.
Well, he set the precedent during the Civil War that if it was okay to kill American citizens if they took up arms against their country. So if you've got an American citizen abroad and they can prove that he's taken up arms or is sympathizing with people who's taking up arms against the country, Lincoln set the precedent. It's okay to drop a nuke or drop a missile in their back
I'm
pocket.
pretty sure that you don't have to prove that we're taking up arms against the country. And this is a slippery slope as far as I'm concerned. Right now they're saying it's going to be outside the country, that we're going to kill our own members, our own citizens with drones. When is it going to be inside Des Moines? When is it going to be inside the country? You know, it's a slippery slope, and they can kill you without a warrant, without a reason. They don't have to prove why.
Without
Speculation.
And all this by the Nobel Peace Prize winner.
Well, good point. I mean, good point, Frank.
Yeah.
I think I would be returning my award.
My question to you,
okay. You know, I'm pleased with Obama on. We're going to disagree on this, Frank, but that's okay. On guns, on immigration, but just appalled at the direction he continues to take us on foreign policy.
Well, my question to you two guys is the same thing I asked Bradshaw.
You just got called a guy, Heather.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
He doesn't want me to say the V word.
Don't want to speak out of turn, guys and ladies. Where is the real... I saw some code pinks on the John Brennan hearing. I watch a lot of C-SPAN, a lot of politics. That's the first real outrage I've seen from code pink since the whole Libya thing. So where is going to be the outrage? Who's going to do the day 1, day 2, day 3, day 400, day 500 of Obama's illegal drone strikes? Who's going to pick up that mantle and beat that drum? Because I'm not seeing it. If this was George Bush, you would know.
I made that point earlier, Frank. I think we agree on that. But I'm trying to be a fair, equal opportunity critic, and I think what's going on in the Obama administration on this policy is wrong.
When W was in charge of the wars, we had a nightly count on all the news shows. So many soldiers killed, so many soldiers wounded, so many soldiers, whatever their mishap. We don't see that no more with Obama's war because it's a politically correct war now, I guess.
Well, Frank, I got to wrap up the conversation here, so let me say bye-bye.
Well, thank you very much.
And keep working on that suspicious mind, because we need you to be on the same page as us here. Life's just not right without Frank agreeing with us.
I know. I almost feel dirty. What happened there? I was going good, and now I feel kind of dirty that I agree with Frank. I do not agree with drone strikes, and I do think that someone does need to take up the drum and pound the drum and say this is wrong.
Well, and I think the ACLU actually is a really good example of an organization that has been an equal opportunity critic.
You know, on a smaller scale, I think I've been pretty consistent about being an equal opportunity critic. Well, that said, I think Frank does have a point that, yeah, there are a lot of voices that you might have heard objecting to this policy under the Bush administration that aren't so vocal right now.
Maybe they're just scratching their head trying to figure out which direction to come at it from. I'm hoping that they're just trying, because I did a Scooby-Doo moment too. We're going to start shooting our own people with drones? I mean, I don't even agree with drones not shooting our own people, shooting other people. I don't agree with them, period. Yeah. But then you add to the fact that there are American citizens that we're targeting, and then it's just infinitely worse. It was already bad to begin with, but now it's worse.
Yeah.
So hopefully they're just doing the Scooby-Doo moment, and they'll come to their senses soon and figure out what to say.
One other thing we have to talk about, Heather, and maybe we won't have time to talk about it in completeness today, but the yahoos at the Iowa House, 9 of them offering a bill that essentially declares a woman who chooses an abortion, or possibly even who takes birth control pills, potentially a murderer. I mean, you've got Karl Rove criticizing Steve King, and Steve King fighting back and saying, hey, you need to donate to me because Karl Rove is against me. But, these are the kind of people that even Karl Rove is raving against. And here we have them at the Iowa House offering a bill that would do something as extreme as that.
Well, and I have a theory on that, actually. This was, I worked for NARAL for 5 years in Washington, D.C., and this was very much our big issue was reproductive rights. But I don't think that they really want to do away with reproductive freedom. They don't really want to do away with abortion. They just want to scare you. And they're doing it for the press. And we're talking about it, and you're talking about it. And so they're making a tiny few people that vote for them and that donate heavily to them happy. But they know it's not going anywhere.
And I think they're making their own leadership unhappy. I mean, Tom Shaw, the lead sponsor on the bill, I can't imagine that Speaker Paulson is real pleased. And given his response, as quoted in the press recently, I think Paulson's pretty upset that he has members that are going to this, because he knows it's going to distract from the conversation Republicans want people to hear.
Right. The Republicans need to be focused on moving farther away from where their nutbag friends are. They need to move more to the center. But there are a few people that they know it's not going anywhere. They know that even if it did get past the House, which it won't, it's not going anywhere in the Senate. So they know.
Or they need to become the Progressive Party, as Richard Doak recommends, which I thought that was a great suggestion.
I agree. Well, if they want people to vote for them, they're going to have to be more progressive. It used to be the
Progressive Party. It used to be the party that was looking at new solutions to new problems, not trying to fit an old square peg in a round hole. Well, we got to wrap it up. Heather, thank you so much for joining us.
It's been my pleasure.
Folks, Bradshaw will be... actually, Bradshaw is off today. You can hear the Fallon Forum on Stitcher. And go to my Facebook page, like that, because I like it when you like my Facebook page, because then I get to keep in touch with you, and you get to tell me all the silly things you're doing with your life, posting pictures of you in compromising positions at parties. Those get people in trouble. Don't do that. You can also subscribe to my email updates so I can keep you posted Mondays on what's going to happen on this program. I want to thank Webcast One Live for providing the studio. I want to thank Maddie Arrington, my producer. I want to thank my guests, Heather Ryan, the folks who took the time to call in. And I want to thank Hawk Restaurant for sponsoring this segment of the show. Hawk is a new restaurant on East 5th and Walnut Street. And the owner, Suman Hok, is from Bangladesh, and he is doing something that no one yet has done in Des Moines, getting the vast majority of what he serves from Iowa farms and local businesses. 90% of what he serves comes from an Iowa farm or producer or local business. Very, very impressive. I'm going to be having dinner there tonight. Again, on Valentine's Day, I think it's a great, and they have lunch as well, of course.
And it's on the east side. That's important.
It's on the east
side. On the east side. Patronize your east side restaurants and businesses.
Okay, we have an east side champion over here. I think maybe some people knew that.
That's the difference between the east side and the west side. We don't mind if you grow vegetables in your front yard. We're good.
That's right.
We're cool with that.
Cool. Well, all right. There's another good bit of information. Anyway, folks, check them out there. Hawk Restaurant at East 5th and Walnut Street. I'll be back Monday.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershot.
I am administrative manager.
I am the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
If we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're going to do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours